Hello and welcome to Halftime Report. I'm Ekta Batra and with me is Nigel D'Souza. Well, it's turning out to be a day where we are not seeing that much of movement except for what is taking place in terms of the Nifty bank at this point in time. So that seems to stand out at this point. Let's see whether there's any kind of recovery which takes place. But currently we have the Nifty which is under 25,000. Let's see whether there's any kind of recovery which takes place on an intraday basis there as well. Hi, Nigel.
Well, that's right, Ekta. In the last few minutes, actually, the Nifty bank has come off and the IT index that was actually looking resilient, it's got sold into. That early morning bounce got sold into. The Nifty bank, yesterday it rallied. Today it's back to square one. It's given up all those 500 points that it put on. And the IT index, actually, that was up 0.5%. That's got sold into. And TCS, TCS is now down 2.5%, Ekta. Earlier today, the stock was more or less flattish, but now some kind of selling is creeping into TCS.
Yes, absolutely. And at least there's some kind of, you're talking about selling, and we saw sharp selling which took place in a lot of these pharmaceutical stocks yesterday. So that seems to have stabilized today. We have Divi's Labs, which is up around 2.5% at this point in time. Cipla, which is still under pressure, is down around 1.6%. But nonetheless, there's some amount of stability which has come into a couple of these stocks. But nonetheless, let's kick off the show by talking about pharmaceutical companies. Wockhardt is the first management that we have. The company presented its phase 3 clinical trial for the antibiotic niftromycin 400 mg, which is a drug used for pneumonia, before the CDSCO committee, which is the Indian regulator. And an approval is probably expected in the next couple of weeks and could be introduced into the Indian market in the next couple of months itself. We have with us Sahabil Khurakiwala, who's the chairman of Wockhardt, joining in to discuss this. Mr. Khurakiwala, welcome to the show and thank you for joining in again, because the last time you were on the show, we did discuss how one of your molecules did show a lot of efficacy in terms of meningitis. But today we are discussing, how niftromycin was presented in front of the CDSCO. Phase 3 data, I understand. Give us a sense in terms of what was the outcome of that meeting.
We presented this data. We completed clinical trial phase 3 sometime in April. And it was earlier phase 1 and phase 2 trial was done in US and Europe. And the phase 3 we did it in India. And New Drugs Subject Expert Committee of CDSU has recommended the niftromycin, that is McNaF, for pneumonia. And pneumonia is one of the big problems in India worldwide. Normally, globally, about 2.3 million people die every year because of pneumonia. And 23% of that is nearly 600,000 in India. So our drug is a short-acting, very ultra short-acting treatment of 3 days. It is a tablets. It is given orally, and it has a 97% success rate. Today, the existing drug, like azithromycin, has a resistance of 50 to 60%. That clavulanic acid combination also do not work on atypical pneumonia, which is around 40% of cases. So from this point of view, this is a life-saving and very important oral antibiotic.
Okay, so just to get this, into perspective, you've finished your phase 3, you've submitted the data to the CDSCO. Now, when exactly do you get final approval for this particular drug, niftromycin, for pneumonia? And when would it potentially be launched in the Indian market? And what is the market size of it?
We expect this approval to come in next few weeks, actually, because decision takes little time to look at other data and give an approval. And whatever queries they had, we responded. So we expect in next few weeks to get a formal approval from the CGI. And we expect to market by the beginning of next 25, that is around in early January. It will be in the market. It's a very significant size of the market because the specialists and the consultants do not have proper treatment for treating pneumonia. And there is a big vacuum because this drug is coming after nearly 30 years. And there's roughly about 18 million cases of pneumonia in India. So from all these perspective, it's a fairly significant medical unmet need we are fulfilling, and then do very ultra short treatment of 3 days.
Okay. All right. Well, just hold that thought, Mr. Kharakiwala, because we do have visuals coming in of the Navi Mumbai airport runway, where we do have the Indian Army plane which has landed there, the Indian Air Force plane which has landed there. So those are the visuals which are fresh visuals which are coming in. So interesting, considering that we will be having a new airport eventually. Indeed. And I think that would be extremely good for the ancillary businesses as well. But in any case, Mr. Kharakiwala, if you could just get back to the discussion with regards to this particular molecule, niftyramycin, just give us a sense in terms of the other geographies where you have applied for the drug for niftyramycin. And if it is showing so much efficacy for pneumonia, when are you probably expecting approval in other markets? Give us a timeline and maybe even any kind of out-licensing opportunity for this one.
The other market, one of the Saudi Arabia is have accepted this drug as a breakthrough medicine. And we would be applying to them, and we expect to get approval in next 6 to 9 months there after our approval in India. And similarly, as you know, we have received QIDP status, but currently we are not looking at the US market for this molecule. But certainly we would be applying into all the emerging markets. And we expect the approval to come in the next year or so.
All right. Hi, Mr. Kharakiwala, and thanks a lot for speaking to us here on CNBC-TV18. This is Nigel on this side. I missed the size of the drug. What is the total sales potential that you see coming out of this drug?
As I mentioned, in India, there are 18 million pneumonia cases. And it is an unmet medical need. So it would be fairly, we are working on the potential, but I think one is looking at something around in 3 to 5 years, 400-500 crore potential only in India.
Only in India. So 400 to 500 crores is what you're expecting in terms of a size for niftyramycin only in the Indian market. Then I'm sure you'll have, Mr. Kharakiwala, I'm sure you'll have a lot of suitors, considering that you do have a patent on this drug. If you can give us a sense in terms of the patent, how long does it last? And two, whether companies like Indian pharmaceutical companies or even global pharmaceutical companies are interested in tying up with you for niftyramycin.
See, our patent lasts in different countries, slightly different, but in India it lasts around 32 or so. And another 2-3 years is extended in many other countries, the patent. So there is a fairly long period of time. As far as India is concerned, we intend to market it ourselves basically. And also same true in emerging market. We are not really looking for a licensing option today, but we will explore this a little later for the Western market.
Okay, so out of all the molecules that you do have in your portfolio now, Mr. Kharakiwala, we've discussed WCK 5222, we've discussed WCK 6777. Give us a sense in terms of the molecule that you think has the most potential and will probably be first on the list to get monetized.
Actually, as you can see, this Hyundai for niftyramycin is the first getting monetized because as we will be launching in January itself. As far as the 5222 is concerned, as you know, we are taking clinical trial in a couple of months. So it is likely to get monetized in later part of FY25 in India. And maybe in FY26 in the global market.
All right. Appreciate you joining in, Mr. Kharakiwala, in fact, giving us all of those insights on that new drug. But before we let you go, yesterday we had the sad demise of Mr. Tata. Wanted to know if you have, conversed with him, you'll had any kind of dealings, given that both of you all have that common aim, right? To the cancer, to the pharmaceutical sector. So some kind of interactions that you all could have had.
Yeah, I think Mr. Tata's loss is a great loss for India. He was one of the tallest leader, both as a human being and what he has done for Indian industry, business, and also establishing certain kind of benchmark in terms of the ethics and the quality one should have. I had an interaction with him several times. In fact, we bought a company in 90s, married pharmaceutical from the Tatas at that time. And I remember after 5 or 7 years, he thought that he regretted that he sold that company to us, because that was his perspective on the healthcare subsequently. But the amount of work Tatas have done in cancer, both in Mumbai, Calcutta, and everywhere, is enormous. And one could say that it has become a benchmark for ordinary people to get it treated in the Tata's cancer facilities, wherever they have been present. And they have invested both, not in terms of money, but qualitative resources, also in terms of people and others. And I know from my colleagues in medical profession, they would like to work in Tata's Institute, because the kind of knowledge and experience they can gather is enormous.
Sure. Absolutely, Mr. Khurakiwala. It's a benchmark of excellence when it comes to Tata's and, the kind of work that they've done in cancer care. Thank you very much for joining in and speaking with us and sharing your thoughts on Mr. Tata as well as your new molecule, which you have received an approval for from the CDSCO. We'll take a short break, but up next, Sudeep Shah will join in to discuss the technicals. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Well, let's cut across to Parikshit Luthra. He's in conversation with Tarun Garg, the Chief Operating Officer and the whole-time Director of Hyundai.
Hyundai opens for its IPO subscription next week, and today we are joined by the CEO of Hyundai India, Mr. Garg. Mr. Garg, you've just finished a press conference here in Delhi. Let me begin by asking you, if you were asked to define the brand's success, what is the biggest contributing factor to that?
Thank you, Parikshit. I would say that we have been in India now for more than 26 years, and the one key reason for success has been to have India-centric products. We have a very strong parentage in HMC, so we have access to all kinds of technologies. At the same time, we keep our eyes and ears to the ground and bring in products which are suited to the Indian customer. So whether it was a Santro or the Accent or the Creta, or the Venue or the Exter, always we have kept Indian conditions in mind to launch the products. Of course, we have built a very strong ecosystem in terms of dealer network, the connect with the customers, localization, a big focus on exports. I think one thing which differentiates Hyundai from everybody else also is in terms of a strong focus on exports. Today, 20% of our production is exported, and we are a hub for the emerging markets. So I think all these factors have really helped Hyundai to really do well in India all these 26 years.
All right. You speak about the last 26 years, and there have been many success stories. Having said that, you have been at number 2 position, and in the last few years, the likes of Tata Motors, Mahindra have given Hyundai tough competition in the market. What do you think have been some of the gaps in your product pipeline, in your product strategy, because of which you've not been able to grow your market share further? Because if you look at the top position, Maruti Suzuki, their market share has only declined marginally.
So if you see, Hyundai has been a very strong number 2 player, and always there has been competition in the market. Our endeavor has always been to find opportunities. So whether, like I said, as late as last year, when we launched the Exter, we could see an opportunity in the entry SUV segment, and Exter has done really very, very well. Then Creta, of course, has been a very strong brand. This year we launched the Creta facelift, and it has received a great response, a double-digit growth this year over last year, which already had a double-digit growth. Last month, we launched the Alcazar facelift, which is receiving some great response from the customers. Also, we have done some innovations like a dual CNG cylinder in Exter and Nios. So we keep on giving more and more value, more and more options to the customers, which helps us to increase volumes and market share. At the same time, primary focus has been on quality of growth. So if you see, we believe that volume, market share, profitability, brand, customer connect, all are important. And that is how we want to pursue even going forward as well.
I'd like to ask you about the festive outlook. It's been a tepid mood in the auto industry and in the markets, the retail market for the auto industry. How does the month of October look right now?
So frankly speaking, if you see, Indian industry has been growing at 5% CAGR, whether you take a 5-year CAGR or a 10-year CAGR. And of course, last 2 years, because of post-COVID pent-up demand, the growth was much higher at more than 20% and close to 8 to 9% last year. So obviously, some kind of a moderation in demand would happen. In any case, Parikshit, I've spent 3 decades in the auto industry, and June, July, August are normally sluggish months. October has started on a very positive note. As per the Vahan data, our deliveries, our registrations are up 40% this month over the same period last month.
And
so
you
I think
expect to complete the month?
So frankly speaking, after a long time, October is a month where Dhanteras is also there, and Dashara is also there, and Navratra is also there. So everything is bundled into October. So we are very optimistic about October.
So what's your order book right now?
Order book is healthy, and we're receiving some great traction, like I said,
Any
for the newly
numbers that you
launched.
can give us?
So numbers, let's not come to numbers, but the order book, like I said, order book is healthy and a very good traction in October for all our products.
All right. Now, in terms of overall growth going forward, industry veterans have said that the auto industry will only see low single-digit growths in this fiscal and maybe for the next few years. In that kind of environment, how will you provide more value to the customer, ensure sustained growth?
So I think this is very important that you are looking at a mid-term to long-term approach. And like I mentioned, that India is really growing at a very fast pace if you compare with the global peers. The CAGR of 5% augurs very well. And going forward, CRISIL has projected a CAGR of 4.5% to 6% for the next 5 years as well. So I don't think there is any cause of concern. What is more important is how do you really take the benchmark up in terms of technology? How, like for example, we are going to launch the Creta EV, which is going to be first high-volume EV from Hyundai stable, and we are backing it up by localizing the battery packs. Going forward, we are looking at introducing 3 more EVs, and of course, looking at localizing the LFP cell manufacturing along with the Indian partner, the entire ecosystem on the charging station as well. So it is all about our ability to really introduce those models, those features, those technologies. We introduced ADAS, a couple of years back, three years back. Today, 8 out of our 13 models have ADAS. And customers have really accepted it very well. As the highways, more and more highways are coming into place, the high speeds are going up, and ADAS is very, very useful.
Okay.
Welcome back. Well, just about mixed for the markets. We have the mid-cap index up around 120 odd points. It's the bank Nifty, which is the sore point today. So down around 0.7%. Advanced decline ratio still holding on the advancing side. So let's see how that progresses. Currently around 1,200 stocks advancing to 1,139 stocks declining on the National Stock Exchange. As you can see, that crisscross is quite close to each other. But nonetheless, on our segment fundraise today, we have with us Orange Health Labs. It's a diagnostic chain that was launched operations in January 2021. In the past 2 years odd, the company has seen revenue grow over 100% year on year, and it's achieved around 100 crores in terms of revenue run rate as of September 2024. The diagnostic chain has raised a total of $35 million till now, with Axle India leading their $7 million Series A round and then upping their stake further in Series B. The total investment from Axle is more than $10 million. We have with us Dhruv Gupta, who's the co-founder of Orange Health, and Anand Daniel, who's a partner at Axle, joining in to discuss the potential from this. Afternoon, gentlemen. Well, Dhruv, let's start with you. you're in a space which is extremely competitive and fragmented to a certain extent as well. So what has resulted in this 100% growth that you've seen in your business in the past 2 years?
Absolutely. Thank you, Ekta. So diagnostics traditionally has been a very cluttered market. There are lots of companies, like you correctly said, who've been in the space. In fact, when we launched in Bangalore itself has had 1,800 labs. And, we were lab number 1,801. But fundamentally, what we realized is that actually, what consumers needed was that, modern Indian consumers are looking to get more and more convenience at home. We get our food at home, we get groceries at home, we get salon services at home. But when we're sick and we want to get tested, this wasn't an experience that was smoothly available at home. So in Jan 2021, we launched Orange Health with the premise that we will offer customers the opportunity to to get tested at home within 60 minutes and get reports within 6 hours. With this premise, we launched, and within 12 months, we actually became Bangalore's largest COVID lab. Over the years, we've expanded to multiple cities, and we've developed a significant market share in our cities, which has fundamentally enabled us to penetrate the market, to capture market share from other players, and also be able to capture the growth that's happening in this market organically.
Okay. Well, let's get Anand into this conversation as well. Anand, you all have been you all led the Series A investment in Orange Orange Health rather. Give us a sense in terms of, what is the return that you're anticipating from this particular diagnostic chain, and what is the potential growth that you are expecting in the diagnostic industry?
Yeah, Ekta, thanks for having me. Great question. So when we invested, it was mainly Tarun and Dhruv and a small team in Bangalore, right? So when we invested the Series A round, and when we invest in any of these companies, we expect them to be touching hundreds of thousands, if not millions of lives over time. In fact, Orange has already touched 1 million lives in their short existence. So to answer your initial question, can this become a household name where people go to for trusted, highly accurate, and high speed in terms of turnaround diagnostics at home? That is the thesis. And we are really excited to partner with Dhruv, Tarun, and team on this.
But your total investment is around $10 million. Give us a sense in terms of what is the horizon of investment and what is the anticipated return, according to you?
Yeah, so our investment horizons are normally almost a decade, because these are early stage companies. It could take 7 to 10 years to become large companies. And ideally, we look for these uncapped, very large outcomes, and it's very tough to put a specific number. And because I don't want Dhruv to have a set target, it needs to keep growing, and we believe this is a very large market which continues to grow. To your earlier question, just diagnostics is a 15 billion market, growing at 15% year on year in the past, and will continue to grow. So it could be a very large outcome. It's tough to be precise, but the whole belief of our venture capital early stage investment is, if things work out, this could be a very large outcome which can touch millions of lives on a daily basis.
All right, sure. That point's taken. Dhruv, right now you're only in diagnostics, but are you looking to expand into other healthcare verticals, and any further fundraising you would look at?
Sure, absolutely. So, one of the theses that we've had as a company is to fundamentally first focus and win in the market that you're playing in, right? We're in the diagnostic market, like Anand mentioned. Today it's a $15 billion market. Moving over the next decade, looking at about turning into a $40 billion market. There is a large opportunity at first to just focus and go deeper into this market, and that's something that we've been very clear about from the beginning. So, as we go deeper, the way we think about diagnostics is that our goal is to fundamentally help consumers measure their health in a way that enables the doctors to diagnose them better. So as we progress as a company, as the market progresses, over time, we will probably expand into newer domains, but all in the service of being able to enable doctors to diagnose their patients better. And when we started, we were just an at-home company. Over time, now we're thinking about moving from at-home towards omni-channel, and then like Anand said, it's a little bit as we keep our eyes and ears open, we see where the opportunities are, and then we keep moving into those areas.
Just quickly before we wrap up this conversation, Anand, what is the next leg of growth that you see in healthcare? Is it companies which do have some kind of association with artificial intelligence? And what is your approach? Are there companies that, is that a criteria that you would probably be looking at?
I would say the simple criteria is take a real consumer problem, be it in the tier 1 India or Bharat, which is tier 2 and plus. And there are so many problems that's still yet to be solved. Use technology and deep thinking from a consumer back. Is this a real problem? How deep is it, and how can we solve and do it? And if they use AI, that's great, but that's not a necessity. Just picking these problems and solving them deeply is what we look for. And just to add to the previous question, Orange is just in 4 cities as of now. So just expanding that to more cities. My parents live in Chennai, and I really wish Orange was that, just on a daily basis across India, people have these problems. So finding stuff, finding problems, solving it deeply, proving that it works in a few areas, and then expanding it is a thing that we can do across diagnostics, across medicines, across tertiary care, like the whole value chain of healthcare and even preventive health.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up on that note, Anand, as well as Dhruv. Thanks very much for joining in and speaking to us on our fundraise segment. So that's the view coming in from Axel India, which has invested around $10 million in Orange Health, which is a lab or diagnostic chain which has rapidly expanded just in the past couple of years. In fact, started operations post-COVID in 2021. We'll take a short break, but up next, we'll focus on the rupee, which has breached 84 for the first time. Welcome back. Well, let's shift focus away from the equity markets and talk about the currency markets. The rupee has breached $84 per dollar mark for the first time ever, and in fact it fell as low as 84.1 in terms of depreciation before there was some amount of dollar selling. Lata's here to explain what's resulting in the weakness in the Indian rupee.
Well, it's quite a headline when the rupee crosses 84 and goes lower to 84.10 to buy a dollar, because it's been in this 83 to 84 range for over a year now. And 84 was seen being protected by the Reserve Bank for a long time. Whether they intended it as a mark, we don't know, but it seemed to recoil from that level. But today it crossed beyond, and at 84.10 we saw dollar supplies coming in. So dealers are suspecting that now Reserve Bank is protecting the 84.10 mark. Of course, their usual stance is they only remove volatility and come in when there is too much of a one-sided movement. Now, the chances are that the moment you went beyond 84, a lot of people who were sitting short dollars would have come and covered. And therefore, that 84.10 would have came very swiftly once 84 got crossed. And that's why perhaps the Reserve Bank intervenes to ensure that there isn't too much of one-sided movement. Now, why is this panic? For one, we know that, over the weekend, there are some important events lined up, important uncertain events lined up. The first is the Chinese press conference, where they may detail some fiscal steps. Now, if they are fairly strong enough, then you could see a greater amount of foreign money going into Chinese stocks. As we have seen, foreigners have been huge sellers in the month of October, and that could get accelerated, which is one reason why the rupee is on a weak wicket. The other one is a possible attack of Israel on Iran that has already taken crude closer to the $80 mark. It even crossed once. So there is again that fear. We are seeing crude rising, and that's also leading to pressure on the rupee. And a third factor which combines both, dollar index itself has strengthened. And we are seeing many currencies weakening against the dollar. Who is to say that there cannot be a little more strengthening of the dollar? Of course, the latest bout of strengthening of the dollar was because the inflation number came in higher than expected in the US, and that led to at least one FOMC member saying that you can even pause in November. That also led to a bit of a strength, the dollar, leading to rupee weakness. Now the question in the market is 84.10 the new 84 as far as the RBI is concerned? Will they support that level? We will have to wait and see. Too many uncertainties are packed in over the weekend. Nobody will want to go with long rupee positions over such a weekend.
Okay, all right, Lata, thanks very much for that. So 84.1 was the low point of the day currently for the rupee against the dollar. Let's see whether it manages to stabilize at these levels. For now, we need to take a short break, but we'll get you a lot more on the markets once we're back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Well, for the markets, we have the Nifty, which is at around 24,950, so down around 49 odd points. Just want to point out a couple of stocks which are showing a lot of traction within the mid-cap index. So despite, the mid-cap index just about higher by around 100 odd points, do watch out for a couple of stocks such as Newland Labs, which is at the high point of the day. It's up around 11 odd % at this point in time. It's rallied around 15% this week itself and up around 160% this year. So there is something which is keeping that stock alive in today's trading session, maybe some amount of opportunities from the API space. Spark is the other one, which is the R&D arm of Sun Pharma, which is up around 7 odd %. We have JM Financial, which is up around 5.4%. So that one's doing well. In fact, IIFL Securities, 361 WAM, all of these stocks within that space are doing well, up around anywhere between 3 to 4%. Well, with that, it's a wrap on Halftime Report. Business Lunch will take all the action forward.